Welcome to Black and White. I'm Mark.
And I'm Sheldon. And today I want to just talk about President Obama. I have friends, and we talk about whether or not his treatment in the press and just treatment overall is based on the fact that he's black.
The press love him, though.
The press doesn't. No, they don't.
Oh my God, they do. The liberal media.
The press doesn't love anybody.
The liberal media loves that guy. Now, if you're talking about Fox, if you're talking about Fox, that's the flip side of what he's about. So I guess are we talking black and white, or are we talking issues?
I'm talking black and white example, and I'm not even talking media per se. And media is part of it because Fox is a great example. We'll talk about the Osama bin Laden's dead versus President Obama's dead. And they made that mistake, and they're professionals. They shouldn't make that mistake. But even to go back to the beginning of his presidency, one of the things we were real happy about when he was elected was the country seemed to get together and voted him in.
Right.
But there's still that group, and I don't want to say conservative Republicans, but they're out there, and not even just a conservative. I mean, just an overall feeling of we have a black president, and do we have to respect him the same way that we've respected previous white presidents?
Hold on.
And let me give a quick.
A president is a president.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with a president being respected because of his office.
Mm-hmm.
But is it because he's black, or is it because of the politics?
Well, I mean, I think that, starting off with the State of the Union, when he had the State of the Union address, and it was Joe Wilson from South Carolina who yells out, "Liar," in the middle of his speech. Really the first time in history that someone has yelled out "liar" at the president as he is giving his speech.
Right.
So
yelled at the president, but they've in past they have booed other presidents.
Oh, they've absolutely booed other presidents, and they
turned their backs on Clinton when he went to give the wreath at the unknown soldier. The soldiers turned their backs on him.
Yeah.
So again,
traditionally, that one party won't clap when the other
you can see they're divided in the middle, and what do? They asked everybody to go sit next to each other, so that way the applause would all come from throughout the chamber.
Right.
Which is absurd.
Which is ridiculous for grown men.
Yes,
but
definitely.
that's where we are.
Yeah.
And again, being he comes from South Carolina, so that sort of kind of threw up because South Carolina is considered one of the more inviting states for black leaders. Let's put it that way, because black people live in South Carolina. But was that done because he was that's a disrespect to the office of the presidency, and so that was sort of a first, not even a first, but just one of several things. We have the birth certificate issue. Okay, where was he born? We need to see it. It needs to be out there. What I did, and the interesting thing I did was, and maybe you've seen it and I haven't, and it's possible, is that I went out and I Googled presidents' birth certificates to see the other presidents' birth certificates. If you Google it, they're not out there, right?
That's to say everything is on the computer. All right. Let's clear up some things from a different perspective. Okay, was it wrong for the guy to yell "You're a liar"? Absolutely right. But why did he do it? He did it because the president had brought up something about the new health care, that they had just lost the election leading into that the speech that he went to. They had lost the election going in there. Congress had changed. So this is one of the new people coming into Congress, and they're full of the Tea Party issues. And the biggest thing that swayed the way the voting changed was based on the fact that people were opposed to that agenda. So when he was bringing up the whole healthcare thing, that's when the guy yelled it. Was it wrong? Absolutely. Was it done because he's black? I can't buy into that. I think it was
You
said.
think he would have yelled it if it was McCain standing up there saying the same things that Obama was saying?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, if your party had just overwhelmingly won in a previous election, which is what happened in November, seats changed. Congress went from from being Democratic to Republican. Now they felt the wave or the you know the force of what they did. Okay, so my take on it is these people are saying, hey, we came in here, we're going to crush your health care bill, forget you, it's not going to happen. And then when Obama was trying to justify it within that speech, that's when the guy yelled it out. Was it appropriate? No. We're not England. We don't sit there and heckle each other, you know, like they do over in England. Mm-hmm. That's not the proper thing. But, you know, if you're to go to the extreme of, well, it's because he's the black president, to me, I mean,
it's just that we hadn't seen that ever happen. Look at that and you go, And then you have Davenport, Marilyn Davenport, mm-hmm. who comes out with an email and sends an email of Obama as a monkey. Yeah. I mean, and look, and let me say this: that, you know, presidents have been caricatures of presidents for forever.
Yes.
I mean, they're in different things, but you know, as a monkey, that was a racist thing, you know, and for and here's the thing: if we want our children to respect authority. Mm-hmm. Then we should be seeing that from the leaders of our country.
Yeah, but our leaders of our country aren't anything to look up to. You know, I mean, give the teacher, look up at the teacher, look up at anybody who's out there helping the kids, you know, in the real world. The politicians, man, they're as phony as the day is long. But that doesn't justify anything.
And I agree with what you're saying there, because you know but there's that tinge of racism again that kind of floats in, and you know, and it keeps it's something that we had even talked about in a previous segment where you know you had your election going and they sort of wanted to but didn't want to sort of go into race. You could see that race was thing, and then recently with Trump and the whole birthing issue and bringing it back up. Okay, so let's say you back in 2007, 2008, you brought it up as an issue. Okay, where was he born? Let's see where he was born.
Right.
Okay, so they bring it up and you know, and if Clinton, Hillary Clinton had. And
thought
McCain,
it had any teeth to
and
it,
McCain, and both of those guys who ran against him, you know, their political machines were monster machines. They would have already so it was like brought up to say, it was brought up again, and is it a racial thing? You know, because then as I said, I went up and I said, well, let me see Reagan's birth certificate or Bush, either of the Bushes or any of them, and they're not online. They're not there.
Here's the real question: who the hell has copies of all this stuff? If everything is supposed to be specifically adhered to based on the Constitution, you know, you have to be a certain age, you have to be born. By the way, it's not about him being an American. Okay, you and I have talked about this. We know he's an American because his mom gave birth to him, and she is an American. The question in the Constitution, and this is what all the Tea Party people are going around doing. The question is, you have to be a natural-born citizen, and being born out of the country does not fall in that realm. It takes you as not being a natural-born citizen. Therefore, you can't be the president, which is.
But again, you know,
it's so loosely done. But the appearance. Now, I understand.
And Trump. And Trump, I mean, his reputation took shots because, at least among minorities, that, you know, he took shots because, you know, again, it looked like a racial thing. And then as soon as the birther issue was put to rest, now he's talking about, well, how did he get into Harvard? And it's like, oh, really? How did he get in? Oh, so here we go again. This is another racial thing to me, where and I think to our community we go, oh, okay, so he can't be an educated black man that earned his way into Harvard. You know, that's what it sounds like.
Right.
So you know, those kind of things that are constantly constantly being brought up to attack him. I understand if you don't agree with his politics.
Right.
You know,
I don't.
And I know you don't.
Right.
And even on that point, so has his policies been staggered and stopped because part of it is because is he a black president?
Oh,
I mean,
no.
Here's why you know, here's what a lot of us say.
Okay.
We look and we go, you know, we didn't agree with Bush's policy, and a couple things happened. You know, he gave his State of the Union. No one yelled at him, liar, and things. They may have hissed and booed some. I don't know.
Well, that was 2003, so
and even if they didn't disagree, we allowed him to do his policies.
Right.
And if you allow your president to do his policies, get his so that then you can evaluate him.
Right.
You can evaluate him at the end. President Obama's 2.5 years in, and can we really evaluate his policies overall? I mean, they've been kind of chopped up and all along the way. And I've had some people say, oh, he's just not smart enough for this job. And again,
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, no,
that's new to me.
That's not new. That's out there.
That's new to me.
That's out there.
Wow.
And it's like, what do you mean he's not smart enough? He's a Harvard graduate, and that's where Trump is saying, oh well, we need to see his transcript. We being black people, we overreacting.
Woo!
To things. See, we're so used to being.
The black community is so sensitive to every little thing that it even wraps around Obama. It's horrible. Man, racism's gotten worse. Really? This is a guy that's supposed to bring hope and change to everybody, and all I'm hearing is racism is worse. And I'm looking around thinking, really? Racism is worse. We're in 2000, well, that would have been 10, the last year.
Well, who are you hearing that?
Oh, I was hearing it from blacks.
That racism is worse?
Racism is, no, not directly. After about a year into his presidency, that's when I started hearing it. And I'm thinking to myself, really? I was born in '61, and I've seen what real racism is.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff of, the little innuendos maybe. Okay, all right, yeah, and that's what you're talking about. You're talking about some of those innuendos that are obvious, but we don't want to say it because we don't want to put ourselves as the racist.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, I see that stuff, but my God, it's like there's a protective layer around this man by the black community that a white person has no business talking about this guy. And that's not right. That's not right. He is the president of the United States, whether you like it or not. He's everybody's president.
And I agree. He is everyone's president, and really this is no different than when John F. Kennedy was president. He was a Catholic.
I know.
So the Catholics kind of surrounded him and sort of to help protect him.
Yes,
and all the different groups as you go along. I'm not saying there's
anything wrong with that. What I'm saying is a black assumption, and you guys can write in, please do.
Yes,
a black assumption is racism. And it gets so played out and so diluted by throwing the race word out there that people just don't even. It's to a point now where whatever's going to happen between a black and a white person, and we're talking about the president now, it's automatically going to be assumed to be racist. It just can't be open to, oh, well, that's his opinion. And again, that's one of the things that really has to be lightened up on. We talked about the N-word. Okay, certain people shouldn't use it. Got it, right? That makes sense. With race, throwing the race card out, no matter on just about every issue. I mean, when racism is an issue, when it's obvious and it's being implemented to hurt somebody, then go for it. I'm with you. But to just loosely throw it out there, and I hear...
And it's not so much loosely throwing out. One of the things that's out there, which is, I think you'd even find more prevalent in the North than even the South. The South tends to be, if your race, if they don't like you, they just don't like you. It's in your face.
They put it out there, right?
In the North, there's something called institutional racism.
Oh, you mean it's subtle racism.
It's subtle racism, and you don't realize, and it's there, and you feel it. And and people don't have to say anything, but it's there.
Right.
So as we listen to like Fox News as an example, they have there's an overtone there, and they do little things that
But that's opposition to the president.
Here's the thing.
That's opposition.
Yeah, but you know what? But just like I talked about earlier I mentioned earlier in this segment, Osama bin Laden gets caught,
right?
And they
don't want to credit him.
And they one is they don't want to credit him, but the initial thing is Obama Bin Laden has been killed.
Oh,
You know,
right.
and that is, they're professionals, but they did that. I don't care if they come back. I don't, you know, they did that. That's an undercurrent, a little stab at Obama, because